Hey everybody, so I just participated this morning in Hasbro's latest Q&A session, very first one of 2021, and of course building off of FanForce Friday, which just took place the week before last. So my questions had to pertain to the reveals from that day, from any of the comments that Hasbro may have made during the live stream, and the Lucasfilm 50th anniversary celebration that Hasbro is participating in. So there were other things I wanted to ask. I just couldn't because I had to work within this framework. I got to talk to Patrick and to Eric from the Hasbro Star Wars team. And let's take a look and see what they had to say.
Awesome. Alrighty, thank you guys all for joining us. It's great to be here with you again. If you don't know me, my name's Patrick. I'm on the marketing team for the Star Wars fan team at Hasbro.
Yep, and my name's Eric. I'm on the design team for the Black Series at Star Wars.
Alrighty, Victoria from Victoria's Cantina.
Hi, good morning, guys. Great to see you. So you kind of already sort of answered this with building off what Daniel asked. But what action is being taken regarding the whole Walmart situation with them canceling pre-orders and relisting things the next day for triple the price? To streamline that process, are there any specifics you're working on? In addition, are there any assurances that you could possibly make going forward on exclusives that they will be available in some other manner, be it Hasbro Pulse or the fan channels? That way you kind of take away some of that anxiety that collectors often get when they can't get something, or their pre-orders are canceled, or eBay starts shooting up and people start paying it because they're worried they're not going to get the toys. What can you speak to regarding this?
Yeah, so I have four thoughts in my head. Hopefully I'll remember them all. But the first is just, again, reiterating that we hear the frustration, we understand it, we feel it as well. And so it's not like we're just kind of separate from it and don't care. Like we do. And obviously, for many reasons, we want that frustration to go away. I'm trying to remember my 4 points. The second one is in terms of specifically kind of retail exclusives going to other channels. That's not currently in the plans. Obviously, kind of anything we announced as a retail exclusive will be exclusive to that retailer. And honestly, kind of that item wouldn't exist if it weren't for that retailer. The fan channel, they can only do so much. Generally, we are addressing this, as I mentioned. And in terms of specifics, I mean, the action to not pre-order some of the items on the live stream, that was a specific step that we took. Obviously, it's different than what we've done in the past. And it was because we felt that the pre-order experience in that case would not be as smooth as we would otherwise hope. And so, again, they might be available for pre-order later if we feel confident that it will be a smoother process. We'll announce in advance, or they could just, like we used to do for, 38 years of Star Wars history, they could just be available, online and in store when their on-shelf date comes. And hopefully that would alleviate some frustration. So that's a specific thing we're doing. It's not all we're doing. And so hopefully we'll see more improvements in the future.
Yeah, so this, during the live stream on that day, FanForce Friday, they talked about this. They didn't say Walmart, but they said, frustration with exclusives and pre-orders. This is what that pertained to. I wasn't the only person asking about this. A lot of people were frustrated. Obviously, they're fans too. Patrick communicated that it doesn't benefit anybody when these kinds of issues happen. Doesn't benefit them, doesn't benefit Walmart, doesn't benefit the consumer. So they're trying to resolve the issues. I don't know that there's a whole lot they can do. This is pretty much what I expected to hear. I'm just a little bummed out that they couldn't commit to the fan channels as carrying those exclusives, even if it's not right away, just kind of having that peace of mind that, okay, I missed the pre-order through Walmart. I'll get it through Dorkside Toys or wherever in a few months. And that has happened with some of the exclusives. So I'm not sure why they couldn't mention that. Maybe that's not something they're going to do anymore. I don't know. But that's more or less the answer that I anticipated regarding that topic. So we're really excited about the new Ahsoka and Maul. They look fantastic. They look stunning. And it seems like demand for Clone Wars and the Vintage Collection both seems to be really high, particularly with the Clone Wars that just across the board seems to be doing really well. So building on the announcement of those two figures, Have you considered going back into the vault for the Clone Wars as you did for the Celebrate the Saga sets when you focused on the 5 POA figures to bring some of those animated figures back out into the market? Some of them are very expensive now in the secondary market. And since the sculpts already exist, it could be a great way to possibly get out those characters back for new fans and for old fans as well.
No, it's interesting. It's something we've discussed, and you're right. Clone Wars, like season 7 just blew me away. Like obviously I was excited for it to come back, but that last 4 episode arc, especially, like that was movie level right there. So it was an awesome conclusion to an awesome show, and obviously, as you saw last year and with the announcements, like we're continuing to celebrate that in both lines. In terms of the animated figures, it's certainly something we could consider. It's something we've talked about. I think again, we always try to strike the balance of. I think elsewhere in this conversation or in one of the other interviews, the question was like, why so many repacks? And so it's kind of that balance of which are the right figures to bring back out, whether it's the Celebrate the Saga sets that you mentioned, or some repacks for the Phantom Menace Black Series line, or some repaints for the original Kenner Deco figures. It's that balance we try to strike between having new tooling and kind of that those repacks and repaints. But it's definitely something we've discussed, and something we could see in the future.
All right, so they've talked about it. That's a good thing. If they're having those conversations internally, that's a good thing. Animated Clone Wars figures are awesome. Sadly, I missed out on a bunch of them back during the day because I was focused more on the Legacy collection, Shadows of the Dark Side. Those lines that were based on the films had more of my attention, so I missed out on a lot of them. Some of them are very expensive. Darth Sidious, Ahsoka from season 3. Those figures sell for a lot of money on eBay. So I think it'd be cool. A lot of people are getting into Clone Wars now that never were into it before. I know some personally, and I think they would love to access some of these older animated style figures. If the tooling still exists, then I think that's a great opportunity for them to go into their vault and bring some of them back. I mean, I know that the Celebrate the Saga sets would be like a good platform for that. I feel like, exclusive to each different retailer, various themes based around the Clone Wars. Because there's a lot of figures also from like 2013, early that year, that didn't make it to the US that are very great figures and would be awesome to have another crack at. So fingers crossed. So on FanForce Friday, you guys announced a new Indoor Leia for Vintage Collection. And that's an original 96 figure that we're really in need of and excited to get. But she has sparked some comments and discussion similar to Darth Revan a few years back because we really wanted Revan. We just didn't want that version of Revan.
That Revan, yep.
And it's kind of the same thing with the Indoor Leia because she does have a new head, but she is from 2007 and she doesn't quite hold up to the current level of vintage collection. For example, she doesn't have the wrists. She needs to ride the speeder bike, and it's a little tricky to get the current one to do that. And, this is like I said, an original 96. It's a critical character. You do have some figures in your inventory from many years ago, background characters mainly, that could be slapped in vintage cards today and look gorgeous and, probably do very well. But I just wanted to see if you could speak to why the choice was made for not to base the new Endor Leia off the current Black Series, fantastic, perfect, Princess Leia and Endor gear, and instead utilize one from a long time ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. Obviously, we recently sculpted that Leia for Black Series. Tooling is obviously different for the line, so that's a consideration. I think also as we kind of looked at the Leia and Revan, as we looked at Revan and we heard that feedback, there was kind of no way that our team could figure out to kind of tweak that Revan to make him better without completely newly tooling him. Whereas Leia, as you mentioned, there were some improvements that we could make to bring her closer to that definitive status. And then there's also the fact that kind of getting her on that vintage card back for the first time was part of that original 96 drive, whereas Revan wouldn't be. So that's kind of the differences we saw in the two of them. Basically, it comes down to if we kind of tooled up a new Leia, it would take a spot from something else that was newly tooled in the line. And as we looked throughout the line, we really liked all the figures we had in there that were newly tooled, like them all, like the Ahsoka, like the Moff Gideon armor that we did earlier in the year. And we just wouldn't sub any of those out. And so this was kind of a way to get that Leia out with an improvement on vintage card back for the first time, where we otherwise just wouldn't have been able to do that. So it was a bonus as opposed to being something we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Gotcha. Thanks, Patrick.
Absolutely.
All right, so in this case, just slide in another vintage collection figure and make her brand new from scratch. I feel like, I mean, it's always interesting to hear their logic and their reasoning behind, certain choices that they make. He said that Revan would have required a whole new figure, and I think that's what we wanted, right? We wanted a whole new figure. And for me, for Leia and Endor outfit, I think it deserves an all-new sculpt at this point. So I would have said just create another slot to budget that figure because, yeah, I mean, I want Gideon, I want the armor and all those other brand new sculpts, but I also wanted a brand new Leia, and I think, original 96, this was a very important time to do that. And it's really unfortunate that we're not going to get that, and we might never get it at this point. All right, so on FanForce Friday, you announced new Paplu. He looks really fun. However, on the card, that actually is Ramba. And it seems like you probably just based it on the Kenner card, which, was incorrect to begin with. But instead of correcting that like you did with Snaggletooth, who Zutton is coming out pretty soon, you made a change to that one so that it did reflect the correct character. So I'm just wondering, are there certain parameters or is there a certain canon that you have for how you handle these situations, or is it more of a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think as we approached it, we were doing the Zutton figure, not kind of the original Snaggletooth figure. It would be like if we did Ramba. So it was intentional. We did want to do Paplu, and so we wanted to recreate that figure's original card back expression. Even though the card depicts Ramba, that's basically our guiding principle for doing characters from the original 96. In the case you mentioned, you're exactly right. We did Zutton, so we were aiming to do Zutton. And when we revealed it, I think we said kind of that was more original 96 adjacent. It wasn't checking off an original 96 spot. Obviously, as we know, that original Kenner card back depicts Zutmore, who's an option for the future. And so if we did Zutmore, we would stay true to that original Kenner card back, just like we did with Paplu. Since Zutton was not in the original, and I'm sure I'm just telling you stuff you know already, but in case any of your readers or listeners don't, Zutton was obviously not in that original Kenner line, so we basically considered it as a new expression for the vintage collection with a new card back. And so again, it would be like if we did Ramba in the line, although obviously in that case we could or would probably leverage the film out from the Power of the Force figure. So when the time comes to do Zutmore, just like with Paplu, we'll match that original card back. But that is, to your point, our guiding principle. When we do an original Kenner 96 figure, we're paying homage to that original film out, that original execution.
Sounds good. So we might still get Zutmore.
He's definitely an option for the future, yeah. But you're right. If we did him, it would be distinct from Zutton. This
was actually my most interesting takeaway from this whole Q&A thing that I had. So I think we all assume that Zutton was crossing off that original 96 for Snaggletooth. So for Patrick to say that they might still do another Snaggletooth Zutmore featuring that classic original Kenner card, which of course was a shot from the holiday special, is pretty cool. I'd love to see that. I hope it happens. I'm all for Cantina Aliens. It's just interesting to hear that that possibility is still out there. So this is actually pretty exciting. I know it's a very minor thing. A lot of people probably don't really care. For me, I'm a nut for this kind of stuff. So that's good stuff. I love it.
All righty, Victoria.
Thank you. All right, so you kind of answered my fifth question, so I'm going to kind of hope it's okay if I change it a little bit.
Go rogue, absolutely.
So your CEO just said that last year Star Wars sales were up 70%. What do you think that will mean for the future of the Star Wars line?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He said that's public. We're all excited about it. Obviously, like we are, we're true believers in Star Wars. We've loved the brand like from our youth, and now it's a dream working on it. And so we've always believed in Star Wars, even in the years when it wasn't up 70%. Obviously, we've been so excited about the announcements coming out of Disney and Lucasfilm the past few months. We think the future is amazing. I said on the live stream that we'll see, and I'm choosing my words carefully, for the vintage collection, in 2021, since the relaunch, we should see more new figures than in any year since the relaunch. yeah, it's exciting times. We're excited for what's to come. And I think as long as that excitement is there from the fans, and as long as we keep the conversation going, I think that'll continue.
Well, then let's keep that conversation going. Let's keep that enthusiasm going for these lines. That's good stuff. I mean, there's all this content that's coming in the next few years. All these different series that are launching. They're going to have a hard time keeping up. So that 70% increase in sales really demonstrates the drive that people have to acquire Star Wars merchandise, whether it's Baby Yoda or whatever else. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. And I hope that they take that, with all this entertainment that's coming, to use it to make more stuff. We're going to need a lot more figures, with all these shows coming out. So let's hope that it means good things for the future.
So I'll just say thank you sincerely to all you guys for joining us. We love doing these. It's fun to be able to kind of ignore our, email and our meetings for a few hours and just geek out about Star Wars. So thank you for allowing us the time to do this. And, also hopefully this has been helpful for you. It's also really helpful for us. Obviously, the questions you guys ask are the questions that are most important to the fan community right now. And, I've taken a few notes, and we literally do take this stuff back and put it into action as we try to kind of drive things moving forward. So thank you for taking the time. I know we're in different countries and different time zones, and it might be early or late, but really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to doing it again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that's it. Interesting stuff. These Q&As are never meant to serve as like breaking news or for revealing anything. They're only meant to kind of clarify certain points, certain aspects surrounding new releases. They're meant to elaborate on certain points. So I never go into them expecting to learn anything substantial, just kind of, gauge, what they're telling me. And, obviously we want to provide the feedback and hopefully influence some of the stuff that they end up doing. Because, there's a lot of stuff we want to see. With all the content that's coming, they're going to need to step it up a little bit with Black Series, the Vintage Collection, and there's a lot to be done. So here's hoping that going forward with all these new shows and things coming to Disney Plus, that they'll see the enthusiasm for these toy lines. The 70% jump in Star Wars product. Hopefully that's a good indicator that people are here for Star Wars. They're here for these various toy lines, and hopefully they allocate the appropriate budget. And yeah, I'd like to hear what you think. So sound off down in the comments. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Subscribe to the Cantina Chatter podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as the Vintage Collection podcast, which will be coming back very soon. Thanks again to Patrick and to Eric and to Litzky PR and to Hasbro for enabling us to participate in this Q&A. We really appreciate the opportunity. As always, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.